The controversy centered around a 33-year-old transgender teacher, M. Ember, who had earned a reputation as a dedicated and approachable educator. Having transitioned years earlier, M. Ember was married to a supportive partner and was widely respected within the community for her commitment to her students. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly ideal life lay a troubling secret, one that would eventually come to light. The case began to take shape in early 2021, when whispers of inappropriate behavior between M. Ember and one of her male students started circulating among the student body. The school, located in a quiet suburban neighborhood, had long been regarded as a safe and nurturing environment for young minds. Parents trusted the faculty, and the administration prided itself on maintaining high standards of professionalism. M. Ember, in particular, was seen as a role model for inclusivity and resilience, having openly shared her journey as a transgender woman with her students to promote acceptance and understanding. However, as the rumors grew louder, the school's administration faced a difficult dilemma. If the allegations were true, they would not only tarnish the institution's reputation, but also raise serious concerns about the safeguards in place to protect students. The situation was further complicated by the fact that Monsieur Ember was a well-liked figure, and many found it hard to believe she could be capable of such misconduct. Yet, as whispers turned into concrete concerns, the school was forced to confront the possibility that one of its most respected teachers had crossed a line that should never be breached. The case took on additional layers of complexity due to the cultural and social dynamics of the time. Between 2011 and 2013, conversations about gender identity and LGBTQ+ rights had become increasingly prominent in the United States. M. Ember's position as a transgender educator made her a symbol of progress for many. This context made the allegations even more shocking, as they threatened to undermine the strides made in fostering acceptance and equality. At the same time, the case highlighted the importance of maintaining professional boundaries, regardless of one's personal identity or background. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this was not just a story about an individual's actions, but a reflection of broader societal issues. The case forced the community to grapple with difficult questions about trust, accountability, and the responsibilities of those in positions of authority. By the time the truth came to light, the scandal had already left an indelible mark on the school and the surrounding community. What began as hushed rumors escalated into a full-blown investigation, revealing a web of deceit and betrayal that no one could have anticipated. The case of Monsieur Ember would become a cautionary tale, underscoring the importance of vigilance and transparency in educational institutions and beyond. The first signs of trouble had actually emerged earlier, in the fall of 2019, when an 18-year-old male student, whom we will refer to as Richard, began exhibiting unusual behavior. Richard, a previously outgoing and academically driven sophomore, started withdrawing from his friends and family. His grades, once consistently high, began to slip, and he seemed increasingly distracted during class. A mother's worst fear. At first, Richard's parents attributed his behavior changes to the typical struggles of adolescence. However, as weeks passed, their concern deepened. It was during a routine parent-teacher conference that Mrs. Thompson, Richard's mother, first heard Monsieur Ember's name mentioned in a troubling context. Monsieur Ramirez, Richard's guidance counselor, noted that Richard had been spending an unusual amount of time with Monsieur Ember outside of class. While Monsieur Ember was known for her open-door policy and willingness to mentor students, the frequency and nature of her interactions with Richard raised red flags. Monsieur Ramirez mentioned that other students had begun gossiping about the pair, with some even claiming to have seen them together in secluded areas of the school after hours. Now deeply worried, Mrs. Thompson confronted Richard about the rumors. At first, he denied any wrongdoing, insisting that Monsieur Ember was simply helping him with personal issues. However, as the pressure mounted, Richard broke down, revealing fragments of a story that left his mother in shock. He confessed that Monsieur Ember had been sending him inappropriate messages and had even arranged secret meetings under the guise of offering academic support. Confused and overwhelmed, Richard admitted that he didn't know how to handle the situation and had been too afraid to speak up. The investigation begins. Mrs. Thompson immediately took action. She reported the allegations to the school's principal, Mr. Daniels, who struggled to reconcile the accusations with the image of the respected teacher he thought he knew. However, realizing the gravity of the situation, Mr. Daniels launched a preliminary investigation. He discreetly interviewed students and staff members, gathering enough evidence to suggest that the rumors might hold some truth. As the school pieced together a timeline of events, it became clear that Monsieur Ember had allegedly been grooming Richard for months. What started as a seemingly innocent mentorship had gradually escalated into something far more sinister. The school administration, now faced with the possibility of a major scandal, knew they had to act swiftly and decisively. They contacted local authorities, setting the stage for a formal investigation, one that would uncover even more shocking details. A school divided. The initial phase of the case was marked by tension and uncertainty. The school community, once united by a sense of trust and camaraderie, was now divided. Some defended Ember, citing her contributions to the school and her role as a trailblazer for transgender visibility. Others, however, were quick to condemn her, arguing that no amount of goodwill could excuse the alleged misconduct. As the investigation progressed, the once quiet halls of the high school became a battleground of conflicting opinions, setting the stage for the dramatic events that would follow. The breaking point. The situation reached its boiling point in early December 2021, when a series of explicit text messages between Monsieur Ember and Richard were discovered. The messages, exchanged over several months, left little room for interpretation. They revealed a pattern of emotional manipulation and inappropriate advances, with Monsieur Ember allegedly encouraging Richard to engage in a secret relationship with her. The messages also indicated that the two had met privately, on multiple occasions, both on and off school grounds, under the pretense of tutoring sessions. The most damning evidence came to light when Richard's classmates came forward with additional information. The investigation unfolds. Multiple students came forward with alarming testimonies. One student claimed to have seen Monsieur Ember and Richard together in an empty classroom after school hours, while another reported overhearing a conversation that crossed professional boundaries. These testimonies, combined with the explicit text messages, painted a disturbing picture, one of a teacher who had abused her position of trust and authority. Confrontation and admission. Now armed with concrete evidence, the school administration confronted Monsieur Ember. She initially denied the allegations, insisting that her interactions with Richard had been purely professional and that the messages had been taken out of context. However, as the evidence mounted, her defense began to crumble. Faced with the possibility of criminal charges, Monsieur Ember eventually admitted to some of the accusations, though she maintained that the relationship had been consensual. This admission sent shockwaves through the school and the wider community. Parents, students, and faculty members struggled to reconcile the image of a beloved teacher with the reality of her actions. Media frenzy and legal battle. The case quickly gained media attention, with local news outlets picking up the story, sparking a heated public debate. Many questioned how such behavior had gone unnoticed for so long, while others criticized the school for failing to protect its students. As the scandal unfolded, Richard's family announced their intention to pursue legal action against both Ember and the school district. They argued that the school had been negligent in its duty to safeguard students and demanded accountability for the emotional and psychological harm caused to their son. The case became a flashpoint for discussions about the responsibilities of educational institutions, the need for stricter oversight of teacher-student interactions, criminal charges, and fallout. The climax of the case came when Monsieur Ember was formally charged with multiple counts of misconduct, including inappropriate communication with a minor abuse of her position as an educator. These charges marked a turning point in the investigation, shifting the focus from speculation and rumors to the legal consequences of her actions. As the case moved toward trial, the community braced itself for the fallout, knowing that the repercussions would extend far beyond the high school walls. The events of December 2021 served as a stark reminder of the potential for abuse in positions of power. The importance of vigilance in protecting vulnerable individuals. The case of Ember and Richard would leave an indelible mark on the community, forcing everyone involved to confront difficult truths about trust, accountability, and professional boundaries. A deeper investigation. Following the formal charges against Ember, the investigation entered a more rigorous and systematic phase. Local law enforcement, in collaboration with the school district, launched a comprehensive probe to uncover the full extent of the misconduct. Detectives conducted in-depth interviews with Richard, his family, and students who had interacted with Monsieur Ember. Review of surveillance footage from the school Emberlisis of phone records and social media activity. Their goal was to piece together a complete timeline of events. The digital evidence. One of the most critical aspects of the investigation was the forensic Emberlisis of Ember's electronic devices. Investigators seized her phone and laptop, uncovering a trove of incriminating evidence. Even deleted messages and photos were recovered, corroborating Richard's claims. The digital evidence revealed that Monsieur Ember had not only engaged in inappropriate communication. As the investigation progressed, more students came forward with their own experiences. While none of the other allegations reached the same level of severity as Richard's case, several students reported feeling uncomfortable with Miss Ember's behavior, citing instances of overly personal conversations and unwanted attention. These testimonies added weight to the case, suggesting a pattern of boundary crossing that extended beyond a single incident. The school district also conducted an internal review to determine whether there had been any lapses in protocol or oversight. This review revealed that, while the school had policies in place to prevent teacher misconduct, enforcement had been inconsistent. For example, Miss Ember's frequent one-on-one meetings with students, though initially seen as a sign of her dedication, should have raised concerns given the lack of supervision. The review also highlighted the need for better training and resources to help staff recognize and address potential red flags. Throughout the investigation, the media closely followed the case, amplifying public scrutiny and putting pressure on both the school and law enforcement to deliver justice. The story sparked heated debates about the responsibilities of educators, the vulnerabilities of students, and the broader societal implications of the case. Advocacy groups weighed in, with some emphasizing the importance of protecting students from abuse and others cautioning against rushing to judgment in cases involving marginalized individuals like Miss Ember. By the spring of 2022, the investigation had gathered enough evidence to move forward with a trial. The findings painted a damning picture of Miss Ember's actions, leaving little doubt about her guilt. However, the case also raised important questions about systemic failures and the need for stronger safeguards to prevent similar incidents in the future. As the legal proceedings began, the community braced itself for the next chapter in a story that had already left a profound impact on everyone involved. As the trial approached, a series of shocking revelations came to light, further complicating the case and deepening the sense of betrayal felt by the community. One of the most startling discoveries was that Miss Ember had allegedly engaged in similar behavior with another student several years prior. This student, now in college, came forward after hearing about the case and revealed that Miss Ember had sent him inappropriate messages when he was a junior at the same high school. While the incidents had not escalated to the same level as with Richard, they demonstrated a troubling pattern of behavior that had gone unchecked for years. Another bombshell emerged when investigators uncovered evidence suggesting that Miss Ember had manipulated school records to cover her tracks. She had allegedly altered attendance logs and deleted emails to obscure the frequency and nature of her interactions with Richard. This revelation not only strengthened the case against her, but also raised serious questions about the school's administrative oversight. How had such blatant misconduct gone unnoticed for so long? Perhaps the most shocking detail was the extent to which Miss Ember had exploited her position as a role model for inclusivity and acceptance. Testimonies from students revealed that she had used her personal. Miss Ember used her identity as a transgender woman to gain the trust and sympathy of students, creating an environment where they felt compelled to defend her, even when her actions were inappropriate. This manipulation of her identity and the values she claimed to represent added a layer of complexity to the case, sparking debates about the intersection of personal identity and professional responsibility. The revelations had a profound impact on Richard and his family. Learning that Miss Ember had allegedly targeted other students deepened their sense of anger and betrayal. Richard, who was already struggling with the emotional fallout of the case, became increasingly withdrawn and began seeing a therapist to cope with the trauma. His family, meanwhile, became more determined than ever to hold both Miss Ember and the school district accountable for their failures. As the trial date approached, the case continued to dominate headlines, with media outlets dissecting every new development. The shocking facts that had come to light not only strengthened the prosecution's case, but also served as a wake-up call for the community. They underscored the importance of vigilance and transparency in educational institutions and highlighted the need for systemic change to prevent similar incidents in the future. The revelations also forced the community to confront uncomfortable truths about trust and accountability. Miss Ember, once celebrated as a trailblazer and mentor, had betrayed the very principles she claimed to uphold. Her actions not only harmed her victims, but also undermined the progress made in fostering acceptance and equality. As the trial began, the community grappled with the fallout of these shocking revelations, knowing that the case would leave a lasting impact on everyone involved. The climax of the case occurred in March 2020, when Miss Ember was formally arrested at her home in a quiet Chicago suburb. The arrest, carried out by local law enforcement with the support of the school district, marked a turning point in the investigation. News of her arrest spread quickly, drawing a mix of relief and outrage from the community. For many, it was a long-awaited moment of accountability, while others struggled to reconcile the image of the once-respected teacher with the reality of her actions. The arrest followed months of meticulous investigation and the accumulation of overwhelming evidence. Prosecutors had built a strong case, relying on the testimonies of Richard and other students, digital evidence from Miss Ember's devices, and the revelations of her past misconduct. The charges against her included multiple counts of inappropriate communication with a minor, abuse of a position of trust, and tampering with school records. Each charge carried significant legal consequences, reflecting the severity of her actions. Miss Ember's arrest was a highly publicized event, with media crews camped outside her home and the local police station. Her mugshot, broadcast across news outlets, became a symbol of the scandal, further fueling public debate. Supporters of Richard and his family celebrated the arrest as a step toward justice, while some of Miss Ember's defenders argued that she was being unfairly targeted due to her transgender identity. This divide highlighted the complex social and cultural dynamics at play, as the case became a flashpoint for discussions about accountability, identity, and the responsibilities of educators. During her arraignment, Miss Ember pleaded not guilty to all charges, maintaining that her interactions with students had been misinterpreted and that she was the victim of a biased investigation. However, the weight of the evidence against her made it clear that the legal battle ahead would be difficult and highly contentious. As the trial loomed, the community braced for the next chapter in a case that had already left an indelible mark on everyone involved. Richard had been consensual, and her legal team argued that the case was being sensationalized by the media, and that Miss Ember was being judged more harshly because of her identity. However, the prosecution countered that her actions constituted a clear abuse of power, regardless of her personal background. The arrest and subsequent legal proceedings sent shockwaves through the school community. Students and faculty members grappled with the reality of the situation, struggling to process how someone they had admired could be capable of such misconduct. The school district, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure to address the systemic failures that had allowed the situation to escalate. For Richard and his family, the arrest was a bittersweet moment. While they were relieved that Miss Ember was finally facing consequences for her actions, they knew that the emotional scars would take time to heal. Richard, who had become a symbol of the case, continued to receive support from his family and therapists as he navigated the aftermath of the scandal. The arrest marked the beginning of the end of the legal battle, but it also signaled the start of a broader reckoning for the community. As the trial approached, the case served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, transparency, and accountability in protecting vulnerable individuals. The climax of the story was not just about one teacher's fall from grace, but about the lessons that could be learned from the tragedy to prevent similar incidents in the future. The trial of Miss Ember concluded in August 2020, after weeks of intense drama and emotional testimonies. The jury found her guilty on all charges, including inappropriate communication with a minor, abuse of a position of trust, and tampering with school records. The judge, emphasizing the severity of her actions and the breach of trust involved, sentenced her to 7 years in prison, followed by mandatory registration as a sex offender. The sentence sent a clear message about the consequences of abusing power and exploiting vulnerable individuals. For Richard and his family, the verdict brought a sense of closure, though the emotional scars remained. Richard, now a high school senior, continued to receive therapy to cope with the trauma. His family expressed gratitude for the support they had received from the community, but also criticized the school district for its failure to prevent the misconduct. They announced plans to pursue a civil lawsuit against the district, seeking damages for the emotional and psychological harm caused to their son. The case had far-reaching consequences for the school and the broader community. The high school underwent a series of reforms, including stricter oversight of teacher-student interactions, mandatory training on professional boundaries, and the implementation of a more robust reporting system for misconduct. The district also established a task force to review and update its policies, ensuring that such a situation could not occur again. The scandal sparked a nationwide conversation about the responsibilities of educators and the need for systemic changes to protect students. Advocacy groups called for increased funding for mental health resources in schools and better training for staff to recognize and address potential red flags. The case also prompted discussions about the intersection of identity and accountability, with many emphasizing that personal background should never excuse professional misconduct. For Miss Ember, the verdict marked the end of her career and the loss of the respect she had once commanded. Her marriage dissolved in the wake of the scandal, and she became a pariah in the community she had once served. In interviews following the trial, she expressed remorse for her actions, but maintained that she had never intended to cause harm. Her story served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of crossing professional boundaries and the devastating consequences of betraying trust. The case left an indelible mark on everyone involved, serving as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, transparency, and accountability in educational institutions. While the community struggled to heal from the scandal, the reforms and conversations it sparked offered hope for a safer and more equitable future. The case of Miss Ember and Richard is a sobering reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist within our educational systems and the critical need for vigilance and accountability. It underscores the importance of creating environments where students feel safe and supported, and where educators are held to the highest standards of professionalism. As we reflect on this case, let it serve as a call to action for parents, educators, and policymakers alike. Thanks for watching True Crime Cases.